What's up, universe? Josh Bricklary here, and as the title of the video suggests, this series is to document my journey into the world of voice acting. The reason I am wanting to document this journey is for multiple reasons. For one, I really want to be able to look back and see what I've learned over time, my wins, my losses, and be able to just really reflect and look on that as I move forward on this journey. I also want to share my learns in this process so it can help those of you out there that may be thinking about starting, are also starting, or are already on your voice acting journey. And the last reason I'm wanting to do this series is to get myself practice, both with speaking in front of a mic, but also creating content and putting something out there for the world to hopefully enjoy. This can be beneficial in many ways if for any project creation I decide to do going forward. Again, just talking in front of a microphone is always great to do. And then also helping others out there that may be on your journey or thinking about starting. And everything that I do, I want it to be beneficial to someone somewhere. And so hopefully this video series can accomplish that. So what I want to focus on in this first video is what I've learned so far and my steps that I've taken in my journey. And we'll talk a little bit about what I'm using, the equipment, as that is very, very popular in the how-to videos, and what do I need, questions that are always arising, and things that I've Googled as well. So I do want to touch on those few things in this video. If you want to go on this journey with me and see the progress that I make, please hit that subscribe button. That will immensely help the channel as I create more content and try to reach more people. So every subscribe, every like is also appreciated. So first, let's talk about what I've learned so far. One big thing that I've learned is that a demo reel is not a necessity up front. I had the misconception that a demo reel is what got you into auditioning. That's what got you started down the road of voice acting or voiceover. That is not the case. A demo reel is something that comes later on down the line, when you are established, when you've already done work, when you're really getting paid for work, and you're looking for an agent to represent you and get you some more work and some higher paid gigs. That is when a demo reel comes into play. That's typically something that you'll want to get recorded with an actual producer in a recording studio using the highest end recording equipment. Yes, that's going to cost you some money, but if you're making money and you're looking to make more, that's going to be a very worthwhile investment when it's time to go looking for an agent. So the first thing down, you don't need a demo reel. No, not right off the bat. The way you get started is you go sign up for a bunch of websites, most of which are free. Wouldn't recommend spending any money to sign up for a site that you may or may not make money on. So stick to the free ones. I'll put some of those in the description below so you can see what I've signed up for so far. Now, I will say I don't have any experience on those just yet, so I can't recommend one over the other, but I've created an account on several, and we'll be diving into that shortly. Speaking of, I've not yet auditioned for anything. Again, just getting started. I've absorbed a lot of information over these past few days, watching multitude of YouTube videos and reading through other resources in order to get myself prepared and to really know if this is something I want to pour my time and energy into. And well, here we are. I'm making this video series, and so we're diving in. If this video series makes it to episode 3 and you don't see another one, well, we'll know how that worked out. But in order to know, you got to subscribe. Getting started in auditioning is signing up for these free websites and clicking through and finding things that you think you would be a good fit for, whether it be a simple reading for a small ad online, maybe for a podcast ad, or someone is looking for a specific voice or a character for their fan fiction based off of some Star Wars adaptation that no one's ever heard of before. Wherever it is, it exists out there, and you'll be able to find it. So getting out there and looking through and scrolling through and auditioning for things is really important. Even the professionals do that. They're on their own websites and scrolling through and auditioning for multitude of things. One thing that I've heard and what I've watched and what I've absorbed so far is voice actors feel like they are auditioning 90% of the time. Their job is auditioning. Doing the work, getting the gigs, and playing those characters is the 10%. So in order to get started, we're going to be auditioning a whole lot. Now, in order to audition, obviously you need some equipment to do so. You need a way to record yourself, to post that, and to get that sent off to that website. And one of the next biggest questions is, what equipment do I buy? Luckily, I didn't have to ask that question. I obviously did a little bit of searching around to see, if anything has changed recently, if there's new equipment out there, if there's a best way to do it. And luckily, I found that the equipment that I already had from a podcast I've done years ago is going to be good enough to get started. Those upgrades, that money to be spent, is going to come later on down the line when that is absolutely necessary. So I'll talk you through what I've got right now and what I'm using, and you can make your own assessments based off of that and doing a little research on your own. So to start, the microphone. This looks like a really fancy microphone. It's not too fancy. I spent maybe about $60 to $80 on this guy several years back. Bought it off of Amazon. This mic is a CAD Audio, CAD Audio GXL 2200. Again, spent less than $100 on it, easy. And it came with a shock mount, as you can see, matching colors, very nice. I believe they call this a champagne finish, so it looks very fancy. But it's nothing too expensive. It's nothing too crazy, and it gets the job done. It really elevated the audio of our podcast when we were recording that and made a nice difference there. So very happy with this investment. Again, maybe $80, maybe less, and happy with what the sound quality is that I can get out of that. Now, with the sound quality, you need to plug the mic into something. This is an XLR mic. It's not a USB mic. Most everyone out there is going to recommend an XLR mic because that is going to allow you to grow. That's going to let you kind of mature into other audio components and maybe only having to switch out one item in your setup and not the whole setup because it may not be compatible with a USB mic. So something to take into consideration. If you've got access to a USB mic already, use it. You don't need to spend the money on XLR if you already have something to use. If you've got nothing, XLR is the way to go. With the XLR mic, though, you do need to plug it into an audio interface. The interface I am using is a Behringer Xenix 302 USB. Again, a very inexpensive piece of equipment. It's nice and small, fits on a desk really easily. It's super portable as well. It's got all the bits and bops and knobs that you might need to mess with on the interface without having to do too much in your editing after the fact. The Behringer, I want to say I paid in the ballpark of $50, $80. Again, I bought this stuff 5+ years ago. It's been a while and I didn't do my research before the video. So the Behringer, though, definitely did not set me back anywhere over $100. So pretty akin to the microphone that I've got. So we're already only sitting about maybe $120, $150 if prices have gone up or there's just newer versions out there. So far so good. The next thing I want to talk about is actually this pop filter I've got right in front of me. This is going to be a necessity as you want to misdirect any of the popping sounds that you make when you make a P sound into the microphone. There's fabric versions of these pop filters. There's metal mesh versions as well, as these little foam covers that just go over the top of the mic. You'll see a lot of the professionals, more experienced voice actors using the pop filter, the round ones, sorry about that, in front of the microphones and not the foam heads on top. Whether or not one is better than the other, I don't know, but I'm using this as I already have one, and it looks good too. You know, if you don't like the big thing in front of your face in the microphone, maybe the foam topper will do just fine for you in your recording environment with your voice. So if you've got one, give it a try, and no need to spend a lot of money. Again, these pop filters I have here, it's adjustable. It just kind of clamps onto the stand. That guy was 10 to 15 bucks. And I just mentioned stand. The stand I have is actually a spring arm stand that clamps onto the desk. I purchased that for streaming, live streaming video games online, and that was able to clamp onto the desk and just kind of boom over in front of me where I wanted. I could adjust it freely. Right now I've got it lifted up, standing by the desk, so it works in a manner of ways. Other folks prefer having just a microphone stand, the old-fashioned one stand that goes down to the floor with the 3 legs or the weighted base. That would also do well. It just really depends on your setup, where you're going to be recording and speaking most often. Now, backtracking just a little bit, that audio interface that I talked about actually is a USB audio interface, as the name suggested, and that plugs directly into the computer. It doesn't need any sort of phantom power from the outlet or anything like that, so it gets all the power that it needs for the interface and the microphone from the computer. So that makes life really easy to help keep your setup and cables to a minimum, to keep everything clean, especially if you don't have a lot of room. If you're recording in a closet, you may laugh, but that is very popular, and we'll talk about that in just a second. It does keep everything very nice when you do have an interface that goes directly to USB without any other necessary cables and power, etc. So I just talked about a lot of people record in their closet. And you think, well, that's kind of weird. Why would you do that? Clothes are a very good dampener of sound. And when you're recording, looking for gigs, auditions professionally, you don't want a lot of sound and reverberation coming back at you in your recordings. These mics, when you have them set up properly, they are sensitive. So you don't have to be screaming. You don't have to be right up into the microphone, but you can be back at a decent way. And so depending on the character that you're doing, if you're having to shriek and yell, you can get back from the microphone, but it's going to pick up all the intricacies of your voice. And with that, if you're recording in a room with hard floors and empty walls, or even walls with just TVs and pictures hung on them, there's going to be a lot of sound bouncing around. And so you don't want that, because the mic will pick that up. As you can see right behind me, I do have some sound dampening tiles. These are very inexpensive ones that I got off of Amazon. I use them for mostly an aesthetic, just kind of look I've got going on, but they also do help with some of the sound dampening as well. And it is always good to have those all over where you're going to be recording. Now, in the space I'm currently in, that's just not a viable option. I'm not going to spend hundreds of dollars to coat the walls in the sound dampening tiles, and honestly, my wife wouldn't like that either. But this section that I have behind me does a good enough job, along with other things in the room. Carpeted rooms are really nice. It helps absorb some of that sound as well. So closets are a number one for a lot of people. If you make a little recording space in your closet, whatever wall is exposed, a small pack of these tiles can help fill that space, and then your clothes will honestly do the rest. Being able to find a space that you can adequately record without a lot of extra sound is going to be very important once you start moving forward in auditioning. I am still up in the air as to where I'm going to. Hopefully, if this video turns out well, this might be my space. So we'll see going forward if anything changes. I might be making some adjustments to the closet if that's going to be a necessity for me. So we've talked about what I've learned so far in regards to things like the demo reel and actually getting out there and auditioning and what to expect. We've talked about the equipment necessary and kind of how much I've paid for this stuff. Again, it doesn't cost a lot to get started. And if you already have some things, then you're way ahead of the curve. Again, it doesn't have to be the fanciest stuff. That will come later once you start making that money, once you know that this is your career, this is something that you're going to be doing and investing in order to make a living. So I hope we can all get there. I'm definitely hoping to get there myself. But until then, what I've got already, luckily, is great to get started. So don't be going and spending your life savings on something that we are just not so sure about yet. I wanted to make these to help fill a space in this void of YouTube when there's so many creators, there's so many questions about this process specifically even, and there's not always an in-depth series or video to watch about what that really looks like. A lot of successful voice actors have sat down and recorded 15 minutes of this is what I did and this is what maybe you should do, and a lot of what I've just kind of talked about, but after that there's not a lot to be seen. So I'm hoping that you can see this process. I'm wanting to set up and record as I start doing some auditions so you can see me in the moment auditioning, what that looks like and what that feels like. And so I want to be able to do more with this video series to, again, document and help for myself, but also help anyone out there that's curious as well. I think that's going to do it for this video. Again, if you'd like to follow me on my journey, please hit that subscribe button so you can see these episodes as they come out. Apparently hitting that bell helps you do that, but also hitting that like button will help as well. As I create more content on this channel, I would like to reach more people to be of help and to share my experience with as many as I can that are looking for these types of answers. Again, thanks so much for watching this video. I am Josh Bergolari, and I'll see you next time.